Some stories don't always quite make sense. They leave you with more questions than answers. And in some ways, chapter 12 is a bit like this. We discover that King Herod has murdered James, one of the 12, the brother of John. And he's been killed by the sword, which suggests that Herod saw James as being part of this new movement, and he was threatened by this new movement, who called Jesus a king. The religious leaders are pleased with these actions of Herod. And so Herod goes after Peter, the main leader. He imprisons him. The same treatment is planned. But then something extraordinary happens. That night, Peter is in the prison cell when an angel appears to him. His chains come loose and he stands up, though he's got a guard on either side of him. He somehow walks away from them. There are guards everywhere that he walks straight past, and then the gates of the prison open and Peter is free. The angel disappears. Peter kind of comes to his senses. He can't really believe what has just happened. And he goes to find the other believers. When he gets to the home of the believers, Rhoda answers the door and she sees Peter standing there. She can't believe it's Peter. And so she leaves the gate closed and goes off to tell the other believers. The other believers are there deep in prayer for Peter. And when Rhoda shares that Peter is outside, the believers don't believe it. This is impossible. It's great, this story, because it shows how real those early Christians were. They weren't all superheroes. At times they didn't expect their prayers to be answered. At times they even struggled with unbelief. They find Peter at the door. It is a miracle. It's easy to celebrate Peter's escape and to forget that James was killed. Why is it that God comes through for Peter but doesn't for James? Why does God do one thing for somebody and not do the same for somebody else? Imagine being John, James's brother, struggling with the death of your closest brother. What's interesting about this passage is that though he has all this grief and questions, I'm sure, is that John does not bail from the Jesus movement. He actually goes on to write some key texts that we have in our Bible today. He has questions, I'm sure. He has things he can't quite comprehend, but he perseveres with the things that God has in store for him to do. So often we experience that of God doing something for somebody else, but not doing it for us. We can want to bail, but John sticks with it. The movement is unstoppable. Over the last decade, since that momentous Pentecost, various things have happened, but the movement keeps growing. Pharisaic leaders can't stop it. The temple court leaders can't stop it. Kings can't stop it. And it's because people like John, even though they have questions and don't fully understand everything, they throw their lot in with the mission of Jesus because they long to see people discovering their true identity and putting their faith in God.